As I told you a few minutes ago, we're going to be talking with Kiril Ravensong today. Kiril, I hope I'm saying your name right.
You said it beautifully, Roger.
Great. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad you stopped by. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us and help us sort this out. Now, we talked a little bit in the few minutes leading up to the show starting, and folks, I told Kiril, I've read about 30 or 40 articles on Bitcoin technology and cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology. And that puts me 30 or 40 articles ahead of most people, or maybe 20 or 30 articles ahead of some of you smart people out there. Maybe some of you out there are quite the expert and you're just wishing I would call you and interview you about this. Hey, let me know, because I am curious. Now, Kiril, I have to tell you, as after reading through all of this, I think back and we look back, and I believe it was May of last year, May of 2017, we did the first story on cryptocurrency and blockchain on this show, and someone in Miami, Florida was trying to sell their home, and they only wanted 1,400 Bitcoin for it. At that time, Bitcoin was trading at $4,600 a coin, so it translates to about $6.4 million. I don't know whether they ever sold the house or not. We actually kind of made fun of it on the show a little bit, thinking this is nuts, this is crazy, and it's just one more currency in the way of buying real estate. Since that time, a lot more has happened. Ethereum is taking over the markets in the Southeast and Southeast Asia, and there are, you can tell me hundreds of coins maybe, but now for all of you listening, I've already kind of introduced Kiril, but he is called a cryptocurrency wordsmith. And I hope that means that Kiril is going to explain to us a little bit about this technology, how it works, and what it means to us. So, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Give us your overall view and definition of cryptocurrency.
All right. So right now, cryptocurrency is getting a lot of buzz. All right. And the only reason why it's getting a lot of buzz is because that price point broke $10,000 per coin. So suddenly, right? Suddenly we're clear that digital asset carries some bandwidth, right? Fair enough?
Yeah.
So the question is first, like, why? Why on earth would a piece of software, really what it is, it's just lines of code. Why on earth would that sell for so much? What does that have to do with the current economic environment? And then how does that relate to real estate? Does that sound like the three things?
Man, those are all great questions. Take them at your leisure. Here we go.
All right. So first of all, the first thing to recognize is our current monetary environment, right? So right now, do you have any idea in US dollars, what percentage of US dollars are in paper form and what percentage are in digital form? What's your best guess?
Oh, wow. Paper versus digital, is that what you said?
Yep, just in USD.
Oh, I'm going to guess maybe 10-15% paper.
Now, it might have been something like 15, 20 years ago. Right now, it's something like 2 to 3% are paper. 97 to 98% of that is digital.
Interesting.
So this is something very interesting to put in the mind and to ponder, okay? Because if we're almost in a cashless society, suddenly cryptocurrency is not so daunting, right? It's okay, well, here's one digital currency and then here's another. So the actual change in the rear end would not be so deep. In other words, the way people will soon be spending and using cryptocurrency is not just for large scale purchases like homes, which is coming up, but actually you could use cards, credit cards, not so different. We even have them. There's a BitPay card where you can load them up with a cryptocurrency and spend them anywhere where you could use a Visa or MasterCard.
So then it becomes just another currency. And so if you're trading in Bitcoin or one of them, are you not just basically a Forex trader?
In the end, although you'll notice that there are few distinct advantages of using cryptocurrency. The first and foremost is when you open a bank account, one would naturally think that money in that account that has my name on it, that's my money, right? That would be the natural assumption.
Yes.
It's not the case. The same will be found in the stock market. When you own a stock, that's your stock, right? CDC, there's an intermediary. What you get is an IOU that you put money down and that is being held on your behalf. So when you start to notice that in any given insolvency or any given market shift, you can see your bank accounts seized. We call that a bail-in rather than a government finance bailout. And you'll see that there are a lot of phantom shares in the marketplace. I think Dole recently figured out in the last couple of years that there are about 1.5 million shares, extra shares being sold in the open NASDAQ that the company itself did not issue. Whoops, awkward. So you're going to see, yeah, exactly. So there are reasons for that the experts will go into. But the big thing that's different with cryptocurrency is when you own a token, it is yours. It's in your wallet. It's clearly yours. And these issues that you see in the banks and in the NASDAQ and the other marketplaces simply don't exist.
Okay, now assuming I can figure out how to get one of these tokens, what can I do with it?
So right now, your usage, in my opinion, are comparatively limited, except for the sense that there are such devices as the BitPay card, which really would allow, I mean, I paid for this Airbnb. I rented out a church actually for a business meeting that we're holding today, and my partner just put it down on the BitPay card. So crypto paid for the space. It's wild, but so you already can get a lot of usage in the regular way. But the other advantage that's really interesting is that you can trade one digital asset, one token, for another token, which would allow you to say, for example, to buy Bitcoin, and then from there to buy tokens that are being issued for specific ICOs or securities. The idea is that Bitcoin, while it goes up and down, it's kind of volatile like they all are, it's still comparatively stable compared to some of the new ones. So you could get a lot of bang for your buck if you were to go from Bitcoin to a really highly valued crypto asset for a new business, a new startup, or some infrastructure. That's where you could see massive gains.
Okay, so it sounds like a type of Forex speculation.
Well, that's what a lot of people use it for. That, I would say, is a different function. I'm talking about like being able to invest directly into something that might very well build infrastructure. In other words, about half of the ICOs or initial coin offerings, about half of them are for building infrastructure. We're talking about roads, new energy development, things that honestly government and business have not figured out a way to provide themselves.
Okay, now a little while ago you identified 3 questions. I don't remember the second one.
So we got through 2 of them. First was the current environment. Second was how can you use it? And then third, how does this relate to real estate, right? Yeah. So, all right, so let's take it from.
I tell you what, Kiril,
please.
We have to go to a break. I can't believe that our time has gone by in this segment.
Perfect, man. Got to make the name.
That's all right. Hey, folks, if you have questions about this or any other real estate topic, send them to questions@flippingamericaradio.com. And obviously, I'm not going to know the answer much on cryptocurrency, but I will pass it on to these people who know. All right, send it to questions@flippingamericanetwork.com. We got to go to a break. We'll be right back.
My name's Pat Cawood, and I'm from Cleveland, Tennessee, and I've been doing some flipping since about March of this year, and had started with a national program that was very expensive. I've spent today with Roger Blankenship learning about his program, and boy, do I wish I'd met Roger first. He has a clear, concise program and many tools that are going to be very helpful in starting and managing a program, and the mentorship and leadership and coaching that he's offering are invaluable. Thank you so much, Roger, for your time and sharing with us.
When we went to the break, you were about to answer the question about the use of the cryptocurrency in real estate. And, you know, I mentioned that Ethereum is being used a lot, and I understand that. And I know that the currencies can be used to purchase real estate. I at least understand that part. One of the later articles that I've read about it, and they're getting people to weigh in on it, one of the opinions was it's just one more way people are going to buy real estate. There's nothing particularly special about that. But there was one company that was encouraging people to specifically and intentionally buy Bitcoin and leave it sitting there while you were waiting for the property to buy. And I'm thinking Bitcoin just lost half of its value over the last 45 days. I don't think that's a very good plan. And of course, I was not one of the commentators on that article, but it just seems that if you're waiting to buy real estate, you need to have your money in something that's a little bit more stable than Bitcoin has been. So talk to us a little bit about using cryptocurrency in real estate.
So I would first caveat with, I'm not offering any legal or financial advice. Those are most certainly not my areas of specialty.
Very good. We don't do any of that here on the show.
Exactly. So, I would offer the caveat first that you're going to see a lot of exploratory uses of cryptocurrency. So take it with a grain of salt in the sense of, you remember the .com era?
Yes.
So, and you'll notice there were all sorts, there were all sorts of companies. And remember, the internet had been around for a while, but suddenly people realized, wait a minute, can I reach like millions of people worldwide? Does this give me global reach? Yeah. So in the same way, you'll see some brilliant gems of tokens. You'll see some brilliant gems of functions and tokens in the cryptocurrency space, because it's really not about cryptocurrency. That's just the part that grabbed everyone's attention. And it's cool. But the blockchain technology itself, that's where there's some real revelations where things can be different. So with that as a caveat, please.
Let me stay with you on that for that, because I remember the .com era very well. I also remember the .com bubble bursting.
Yeah.
And a lot of people losing their fannies in that whole thing. And so I kind of have had this feeling that, if they have 300 cryptocurrencies out there now, when the shakeup is done and it's no longer a fad and the market becomes a little bit more efficient, we may have 3 or 5 or 7.
That is exactly just like the .com bubble. A lot of speculation and a lot of junk companies and a lot of really good ideas, by the way. Like, not every company that fails wasn't a good idea that didn't, some of them had really sound business principles. It just didn't quite work. And just like you had MySpace, total success, but yet we don't talk about it. We talk about what instead?
Facebook.
You see, so that's just the nature of the marketplace. And what we have to learn first is, don't fear the bubble, man. What the bubble really is it's an exploration. It's a study in real life economics. And what happens is the ones of real value, the Amazon.coms and the Facebook.coms, those survive and they become literally institutional. And even then, they give way to the next evolution with what comes after. So same thing with blockchain technology. The only thing I would ask you guys to do for your listeners is just to recognize that blockchain is as important as the internet, okay? And represents a quantitative upgrade. It literally represents Internet 2.0.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about why that is. Why is blockchain an upgrade to the internet?
Okay, so in one hand, you can look at it like this. Like the internet's almost like a spinal column, right? It allows information to run along fixed nodes. You can transmit information. We can have memes. That's all possible through the internet. With blockchain, you are now able to transmit not just information, but value, money, securities, deeds, money that you create with very strict resources and rules. You can create securities with strict resources, and you don't need a third-party verification. You don't need a bank. You don't need an intermediary. You get with blockchain a perfect natural ledger that always balances out, at least thus far, over 10 years.
Okay. Now, I have read a couple of stories about not necessarily theft, but one guy accidentally wiped out several $1 million worth of value in people's accounts.
Oh yeah, we've had way more than that. Mount Gox, my God, man, that was. I mean, if you future paste it and what those losses were with current Bitcoin, oh, painful. No, that happens, man. That's part of literally the learning curve of developing a new technology. Now, where it really touches into real estate is quite fascinating. We take it for granted in the United States that we have rule of law, that you have deeds that you can then take to a court, unless, of course, the banks were involved, in which case that's a totally separate conversation. But by and large, there is rule of law. You go down to South America or you go down to other third world nations, there are people living in favelas or in plains or in various places where they've been living there 15 generations, but there's no paper record that they've been there, right? So there have been test runs. Hernandez de Soto in Peru showed a terrific example of what happens when you acknowledge people's property rights. That is something that is currently being developed for real estate in third world, second world countries, so that people can have this record, this immutable record that's recognized worldwide, that this person now owns this land, and it allows them to feel comfortable developing the land, greatly increasing property value, really eliminating terrorism, and turning their economy around. That's where you're going to see it really big in other nations. And that has massive repercussions for entrepreneurship worldwide.
What has to happen for governments or local officials to accept this as valid?
I would imagine it's a certain amount of mass adoption and utility. I don't expect anyone to trust blockchain at all. Don't just believe it. Do experiment with it, research it, and learn about it. And when there are enough use cases, when there are enough Fortune 500 companies that are using it, when there are enough examples that it makes sense and people see the value, that's when I expect you'll see governments just very naturally. We're not even at the early adopter phase. We're pre-early adopter, with about 2% of the population using crypto or even recognizing thoroughly blockchain implications.
Okay. This is going to sound like a little bit of a challenging question, but I hope you know me well enough in this short time we've been together that I'm not really trying to challenge you. But the impression I get from, since I interviewed Stan Larimore for the last 2 shows, I've dug around on a lot of the websites, including the websites you guys recommend. And here's the impression I get. First of all, you guys are very smart. All of you know your stuff, and you know code, and you know things that I would say 97 or 98% of the population do not know. And it didn't take very long for me to get beyond the math that I was comfortable doing. I mean, I'm not a coder, and I don't speak in hex. And whether it's the which kind of hex or the hexadecimal kind of hex, either one. But here's the feeling that I get is this is a highly technical, specialized thing. And as I was reading and trying to dig in and get some basic information, it's like there's a club there and everybody knows what's going on unless you're an outsider. And if you're an outsider, you don't have any idea. I mean, there's a whole language and jargon and culture built up around this. And
Right.
frankly, I haven't found the way to get into the club and
Yeah,
the
man.
cryptocurrency for dummies course yet.
Right. So first, let me personally empathize with you. I am not a coder, although obviously I've been investing a lot of time in getting up to speed. First, God bless America, because only in this country, right, could we trust really brilliant minds to innovate something that's potentially so game-changing, and that we have the freedom to engage the public first at our level. But just understand first, okay, look, it's a wizard's world, okay? And I don't mean this in any mystical, magical sense. I mean the
Right.
type of technology that is already here. Forget about what's coming. What's already here really requires bright minds with stout hearts to apprehend, lest it get taken away from us and used for ill. This is about good versus evil, okay? But you have to understand that. I respect Stan Larimer particularly because of his integrity, his background, and that he's supporting his son, Dan Larimer, in this protection of life, liberty, and property. So the first thing you have to understand before we get to the math is the intention and what the code produces. It produces a system where we can honorably exchange in level playing field, okay, and have a fair shot at participating in an economy. So it really does boil down to that. The advanced mathematics really is just kind of a wake-up call. It's no longer okay to not know math. It's not okay to not be rational. It's not okay to not know our history. It's not okay to know rhetoric. It's not okay to not be engaged in politics. Guys, sorry, you've got to level up your game. It's necessary because technology is such an impactful force. And then I'll give you the last piece. When you boil it down, Stan, myself, and many others, if you look at how we actually live, guys, we garden. I know how to grow my own food. I know how to grow vegetables. That's not an accident. I see the writing on the wall with this current economy, and it don't look pretty. That's why we're so motivated to build the new system that is giving power back to the people. But in the meantime, we're growing vegetables, we're canning them, we know how to winter, right?
All right, now you bring up a whole other set of issues and questions, but we've got to go to a break. We're a little long. We'll be right back.
Man.
Flipping America.
Peter Faulkner here. I attended a one-day flip starter training session led by Roger Blankenship, and I was amazed to see what has happened in Roger's life in the last 15 or plus years, flipping over 800 houses. And in this one-day training, he told how he did it and what the pitfalls, the blessings, the benefits, and how to do it. And I was so impressed with how well organized and how smooth the training went today. If you're tempted or encouraged to go, go. It was not a bad price, and if you get a chance, do it, even just to consider investing. But I just want to thank Roger for a great day today and appreciate what he's doing. Thank you, Roger.
We're back. This is Roger Blankenship, and I teach people how to make money in real estate. My guest today is Kiril Ravensong. I did it, didn't I? I said it right.
You got it, man.
All right. And Kiril is schooling us on the cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Now, going back to the question that you were answering as we went to the last break, the other thing that I've noticed about this community is there is an almost pervasive distrust of the government and the institutions, particularly the banking institutions and our monetary system in the U.S. And that's just a feeling that I'm getting as I'm listening and reading. Would you say that that's pretty accurate?
I will not generalize. I can speak specifically for myself. What you'll hear, this is how I interpret it. Okay, first and foremost, let me say I am a patriot. I really believe in this country. And I will tell you that I really do believe in regulation too. You know, that might be surprising. Now, there's a lot of scams and there's a lot of junk in this industry. I would love to have government assistance for credibility, accountability, KYC, AML. I'm all for that. All I'm pointing out is two things. One, I noticed that HSBC, the cartel money laundering instrument of choice, gets a slap on the wrist and a speeding ticket, and they've led to their actions have financed 20,000 deaths, some of them law enforcement. That's not okay with me. I want to just reiterate, that's not okay. Okay, that's a travesty of justice. You take it further and you look at what's happening with Jared Rice Sr., who I want to give a shout out to. He's right now fighting the good fight against the SEC. I think it's a pivotal case that will now bring these issues to light. But more importantly, the second piece is, it's like, look, guys, this is a new technology. It's an innovation. Even some of the brightest minds who I work with, it took them 6 months to finally figure out what the heck I'm talking about, okay? So we need to have a real conversation. What's happening with Jared Rice is a new innovation in a hybrid bank that's crypto and fiat, you know, FDIC approved, that it was moving towards that. That innovation has crashed into the old systems, and there's really no way that these institutions are willing to negotiate except by gunpoint and then in the courtroom. And if that's the only way, then okay, we need to look for test cases, which are really important for everyone to look about. You really got to look into a Rise Bank because there's something essentially important happening. Now, the distrust in government is not accurate. It's not at all. There are white hats and black hats everywhere. This is very important to recognize. I have a huge respect for our military, and many Americans will agree with me. That is an expression of our government that allows other nations, our allies, to not have standing armies because they know America has got their game hat on. But to that point, we need to recognize that there are some ugly things happening that if we don't stand up for our rights and take a close look, some bad things happen. And I guess the last point, I don't want to ramble on, is when you get good at writing code and when you work a lot with those who write code, what you're going to sense from them is honesty. Math doesn't lie, okay? When I ask a mathematician, 2 + 2, it equals 4. I ask a lawyer what 2 + 2 equals, you know what they tell me?
It depends.
That's right.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly when you write code. That doesn't fly. They're actually painfully honest. That's what you'll see. It's not distrust. There you go, man. So I hope that answers the question and gives you the insight.
Yeah. Okay. I want to go back to something you said before the break, and I appreciate you encouraging everybody to step up their game. I think that our standards of education in this country have been pathetic for a long time, and it's remarkable to me when I think about, you know, I do math. I do math for a living, and people ask me, "What do you do for a living?" I say, basically, I do math, but I don't do theoretical math. I do business math. I can look at a deal and analyze percentages, you know, and it's basic multiplication stuff that you can do on a 4-banger calculator. All right. I also know that a certain percentage of the population, and it's a large percentage of the population, are simply incapable of the kind of abstract math that might be required. For example, you know, almost everyone has a personal computer these days. but a very tiny percentage of them know how to do anything other than turn it on and use the applications and click on the little pictures and type on a keyboard. They don't really know how the thing works. They could not get to the terminal and do anything useful. And so they don't really know computers. Do you see the possibility that once this technology is built and gets a little more mature, even people who are not going to bother to learn how it works could take advantage of it?
Yes, actually, so that, oh, definitely yes. Okay, so I look at it like this. How good are you at fixing your automobile yourself?
Oh, these days, it's very difficult to fix your own automobile.
Now, you notice the change. Now, why is it suddenly so difficult where I bet, as a kid, you probably had a good handle on how to keep your car in working shape? What's the difference?
Well, the difference is the complexity of the vehicles. That's the quick answer.
Okay, so that's just automobiles. Okay, do you know how many algorithms are used to manage the entire financial marketplace?
No idea.
Previously, there was a really interesting one. That one led to the housing market crash in 2008. That was a single algorithm. That algorithm, honestly, was not that different from the Facebook algorithm. It allowed you to make a correlation of expectation with very little data. It worked fine theoretically, but when rubber hit the road, it did not account for the human factor. So that's the complicated answer. Short answer is I go really into the human side of this. Think of it more like community, okay? What I see happening even in the next 6 months to a year is I see the rise of cooperatives. I see the rise of internet cooperatives. I see the rise of banking cooperatives, energy cooperatives, all decentralized in small towns managed by people you know. And in that way, as people take ownership of these industries, it's much easier for experts to come in to coach them and to show them how to use it. So they don't need to know all the ins and outs, but by and large, by the fruits of our labor shall we be judged. So as we demonstrate the utility of these services and people can use them in their own town or in their city environments, wherever they live, then you'll understand really, well enough as how to drive your car, how it works, but it involves us to be interconnected as a community and to hold each other accountable.
You really are the wordsmith. An articulate answer to every question I'm throwing at you. All right. So when we get back from this little break, I want to maybe go back a little bit and talk about your background and training, and then go forward and peer into your crystal ball. See if you can get it out of the mechanic shop over this next break. Okay.
Okay, man.
He's Kiril and I'm Roger, and we're talking cryptocurrency and blockchain technology here on the Flipping America show. We'll be right back.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Hey, I'm Roger Blankenship, the Flipping America guy. I'm excited to talk to you about Flip Starter. It's our one-day speed course on learning how to flip houses. You're not going to believe everything you're going to learn in one day. We're going to start right on time, we'll end right on time, and we're going to cram a lot of information in there in the meantime. You're going to learn how to put together your team. We'll show you how to find prospects, learn how to negotiate with sellers, run the numbers like a pro, be able to make the basics of a repair estimate, figure out what the property is going to sell for, and best of all, I'm going to show you before the day's over how you can get your deals 100% funded. Your credit is not an issue, your cash position is not a hindrance, your current situation is not going to hold you back. Now look, I'm going to make a couple of promises here about this training. Promise number one, I can't tell you in one day everything you need to know about flipping houses. I've been doing it for 15 years and hundreds of houses, and I still don't know everything. But number two, you will learn the basics of fixing and flipping a house. And if you come to this thing and you pay attention and you follow the steps that I give you, you'll have what you need to really get started. And number three, I'm going to give you enough information in one day that you can make $5,000 in the next 30 days. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. I know you can do it. So if you've ever thought about flipping houses, you owe it to yourself to check out FlipStarter. You can check us out at flipstarterevent.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and look at what other people are saying about the training. And we'll see you there. And I mean that. I'm going to be there in person, not some speaker that I've hired. I'll see you there. I got to hand it to you, man. You do a really nice job of answering these questions, and I appreciate that. But I would imagine when you were a kid, you probably didn't sit there in fifth grade classroom on career day and say, when I grow up, I want to be at the forefront of a leading edge technology that's going to change the world. Or did you? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a Jedi.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So that reveals something about your heart, though, right? The Jedi
Yeah.
keep balance the force, balancing the force between the good and the evil, and the Jedi seem to always be the good guys.
Yeah, except I didn't believe in carrying a lightsaber, if you'd believe that.
Oh yeah, what were you going to carry?
I was going to carry the Force.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How about that, man?
Yeah. Have you had your midichlorian level tested?
I have. I rank pretty high, actually.
All right, I believe it. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you just need to watch the movies. And yeah, kind of got me off track.
Hey, man. Remember the battle meditation?
No, I'm not that much of a Jedi.
Yeah, I'm a total geek. So you should look into that, man. Like battle meditation, that's my specialty. That's my joy.
You know, when you talk about the battle, I go back to the scene before the battle and the Return of the King, the last of the Lord of the Rings movies, where Gandalf is talking to Pippin, I think, about because they were looking at almost certain death, and he was talking to him about that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite battle preparation scenes, but that is way off the subject of real estate. All right, so now you know you're a voice, you're an advocate for cryptocurrency, and you're encouraging the industry along, and you are the cryptocurrency wordsmith. I got that. Do you have a career in the martial arts, or are you in the financial industry?
No, I mean, my background is pretty wide and varied. I've been a lay ordained Zen Buddhist monk. I've worked in Hollywood as a writer. I've studied with Tony Robbins at the platinum level partnership level, training how to reintegrate into the world. I've been a world traveler. I've basically tried out every industry that I had interest in, and I've been an educator, actually. From the highest level, it would be mathematics education, like pre-calc for SATs, and then the youngest group I've ever taught were 2.5-year-olds in a music school. So I have a good background in education.
Okay, so yeah, done a lot of different things. And so if you have the ability to take a complex topic such as this and communicate it to the uninformed, then that's a remarkable skill.
Yeah, and it's just my way of being in service to those who I consider geniuses, like way above my level in these specific areas. I actually think Dan Larmer, you spoke to his dad, Stan? Yes. Dan Larmer, he's a genius. I believe that one day he will win a Nobel Prize in economics for the code that he has created.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but maybe we're going to speak to him on an upcoming show. I know I've got a lineup of guys coming in to talk about this. All right.
Yeah.
So one more question about utility and usefulness. As a real estate investor right now today in first quarter of 2018, what do I need to be thinking about in terms of cryptocurrency if I wanted to adopt any of this in my current business?
All right. So are we broadly speaking across the board?
Sure. Go as broad as or as specific as you want.
Okay. There are companies emerging right now. An example would be Hyperion, that's working also on the BitShares EOS platform. They're specifically specializing in technology companies, Fortune 500. They have a pretty high bar to entry, but it's really worth it. And what they do is they offer lifetime technical support in bringing companies onto the blockchain. Not everyone needs it, so you have to understand it is a hyper-specialized case, but if you're in sales, if you have a large sales force of 200 to 400,000 people, you do really well to look at it. If you're in the cannabis or in the hemp industry, cryptocurrency is extremely useful, especially if you're actually obeying state and international law. Cryptocurrency can be enormously useful for allowing you to do monetary transactions. You don't have to schlep around like literally truckloads of $5 bills. You know, so those are some good ones. ones. You'll see tokenization being used to monetize land and labor. That gets into, it's not actually advanced economic theory, that was developed in the dark ages with the tally stick system. You'll also see towns creating their own token, their own currency, not unlike the Bristol pound off the coast of Great Britain. So there are plenty of examples right now where people are using cryptocurrency for great advantage, especially when they don't have enough cash or don't have access to credit in order to get new businesses, new ideas, especially small businesses going.
Okay. Now, what do you see looking forward 6 months, 12 months, or 2 years? You can answer all or take a pick.
Yeah, I mean, I give you kind of broadly. I give you this. Last year, the cryptocurrency industry, broadly speaking, created about $700 billion in security tokens. Those are just securities that could be sold in the open market. This year, that number is about to jump to about $2 trillion. At that point, the likelihood that NASDAQ and other traditional legacy exchanges will accept them is very high. And then I would say within the next 2 years, there is or 3 years even, perhaps longer, you'll see the NASDAQ itself unloaded onto the blockchain. Won't that be an interesting thing? And I really do think that that's on the future. There are enough people in Wall Street who have spoken to it specifically. That would be a market that would run 24/7. It would have way more accountability, way more transparency, would eliminate these phantom share issues, would allow for accountability in the fact that people would own their own shares. And then all of these securitized tokens, which by the, I figure by 2020, that could be $10 trillion. All of that would be available on the open market. At the same time, remember, cryptocurrency allows the unbankable, which are about 5 billion people who have cell phones, to participate in the global economy. How many businesses would love to have the potential of 5 billion new clients using these instruments?
Yeah, and how soon do you see that coming, where we could just use our cell phones to be in this?
All right, so if you look at the technology curves, you can look this up. The adoption pattern of various technologies, starting with the telephone, coming to the internet, you'll see as time progresses, they become more and more straight line vertical. It is entirely possible for this year to see 1 billion people, that's with a B, enter into the cryptocurrency blockchain space as active participants.
Wow. Yeah. It's kind of similar to Moore's law of computing.
That's working in our favor, and it makes things way more efficient. You're limiting bureaucracy. You're talking about transaction speeds in the seconds rather than days. You're talking about costs in pennies rather than like 30, 40 bucks. It's a huge leap.
All right. Someone listening to us talking is thinking, all right, I want to get into this more. I want to explore this more. Where do I go? Direct them.
All right. The first thing I would do is I would go to bitshares.org. Okay. You really want to dive into that. Just look at what we're offering. And then broadly speaking, you want to look at Steemit, that's STEEMIT.com. And you'll see a lot of discussions there. You may have also heard of Reddit, REDDIT.com. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to join one of the communities. And you're going to want to ask, well, first read the frequently asked questions. And then you're going to ask as many stupid questions as you possibly can, because the only dumb question is the one unasked. I also suggest meetup.com. There are plenty of meetups cropping up all over the place where anyone who's covering fintech, financial technology, they'll have cool meetups in Austin, New York, Miami, everywhere. So you want to meet people face to face. Don't dive into this ignorant. That is not a fun time. Last point, do not put in any money in this industry unless you're ready to lose it, okay? I've lost a Bitcoin. I want to reiterate, I lost a Bitcoin in a stupid transaction, and it hurts, right? That's like $9,000 right now. So you have to get into it willing to risk and willing to lose until you get enough bumps and bruises that you can swim in these waters successfully.
Okay, it's like anything, get started and then get better.
That's right.
Right. Ready, fire, aim. But there's a little bit of ready.
It's actually more like fire, 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 aim, fire, aim, fire, aim, fire, aim. Ready?
Okay. All right, you heard it from the man himself, Kiril Ravensong. Man, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Thank you so much.
Roger, it's a pleasure. Welcome me back anytime. It'd be a pleasure to come back on. Thank you.